Hey, and welcome back to FXPERIMENTS. Our last video explained how to build and upload a 3D model to Google Poly and implement it as an interactive swirl component banner ad in Google Web Designer. Try saying that 3 times fast. Today we'll be going a step further by exploring a pre-made swirl template that lets users pick your model's color in the ad through the use of CSS-based events. This could be useful for cars, phones, and other products varied by color. But what if you want to switch between image textures or models entirely? Well, Google doesn't have a template for this, so I'm going to explain how to change between entirely separate 3D models using CSS events. Let's get into it. On the template page, navigate to the Swirl for DB360 card and scroll down to Swirl Color Selector Expandable. As you can see, the template includes a swirl component, which you'll recognize from the last video, a top bar with the call to action Drive On, an expand button with a hidden collapse button that becomes visible in expanded mode, and finally a series of circles called color chips representing a color picker. Let's preview the ad to see it in action. It's fairly simple. It just lets you change the model colors, expand, and the call to action button will send you to a unique link based off which color state the model is in, i.e. it will send you to the product page for that exact color. In the last video, we didn't explore the events panel, but you'll see on the left there are quite a few in use. Each interaction the user has with the banner ad, be it expanding, pressing the call to action button, or changing the color, will involve an event. For simplicity, I'll start with a new banner to work in. I'm copying the color chips from the template and pasting them into our new banner. We'll eventually paste what we do here back into the template so we don't have to rework the expandable feature and the top bar. Let's explore what the color picker event does. The initiating event is a mouse click. The action will be setting the material color of the 3D model. The receiver is the 3D model, and configuration will give you RGB inputs for the new color and prompt you to input a material name. This is the material name from the model in Poly. Remember, always name your materials. Here's a CAN file I've taken from Adobe Dimension, which has a bunch of pre-made product models. You know the drill. Copy the link and paste it into the swirl editor in Google Web Designer. Go into each of the color chip events and change the target material name. If it helps, here I am showing how to do it from scratch. Adjust the color of the chips themselves in the color panel. Let's check out the event relating to the call to action. You'll see there's some code written that essentially says if the color selected is a certain color, the call to action will take you to a certain link. Feel free to edit it with your own parameters, or if you just want it all to link to one place, you can do that too. We're also going to replace the banner with your own image in the properties panel. I recommend using an SVG because it will scale without pixelating. Give it a preview and behold your new color changing power. Wield it with caution. Don't get too cocky yet, because here's where the big brain stuff happens. We're going to use the principles we learned from this template to use color chips to switch between entire textures and models. Here in Illustrator, I've created our branded can wraps. Make sure they're the correct dimensions or you'll have to go watch a tutorial on UV mapping. I'm now adding the texture to our can model in Poly. That's right, I've been holding back on you. This little button in the bottom right corner of the color picker will let you upload a texture. Alternatively, you could add this texture in your 3D program and it would be included in whatever material file you upload. The material color picker event in Web Designer doesn't let you adjust the texture, so as much as I'd like to be able to just swap out the textures in the same way as we did colors, you have to actually swap out entire models. So we'll have to create new poly files for each design. The upside to this is this technique will also be useful if you want to switch between a line of varied products, like different models of cars or phones. You could even double up on pickers so you can switch between models and colors. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Back in Web Designer, we'll import all our variations as separate swirl components. Name them in the swirl editor. Keep in mind that since we'll be using multiple 3D models, the ad will use that much more data. So don't overload your ad or it'll have trouble loading. Change the color chips to their new colors. Delete their existing events and rename them. With the first color chip selected, press the new event button at the bottom left of the events panel. Set the event as a mouse click. Set the action as CSS set styles. Set the receiver to be the component that you want to switch to. This is the original flavor button, so I'm picking the corresponding model. In configuration, type visibility : or just press tab, visible. New line, display initial, and new line z index 2. What this is doing is telling the model to be visible, revert to its initial state if it's been hidden, and where it should be in Z-space. I'm setting Z-index to 2 because we don't want it to be in front of the other objects in the banner, like the color picker or the call to action bar. Otherwise we won't be able to click them and it'll look like this. Great, click OK. Now when we switch over to one model, we want the others to disappear. So select the same color chip and set it to mouse click and CSS set styles like before, but this time we're going to set the receiver to be one of the models you want to disappear. And in the configuration box, we'll type in visibility, hidden, and z-index3. This will hide it and send it behind the active object that we've set to be in z-space 2. Click OK and repeat this step for the other components you want to hide. Now we have one working color chip that makes one object visible and active and hides the rest. Now repeat this process for each of the other swirl components. I'll put it up on screen again. For the component you want to make active, write visibility visible, display initial, z-index 2. And for the components you want to make inactive, write visibility hidden, z-index 3. Now, one of the final things we're going to do is assign everything we want to stay on top of the interactive model with a z value of 1 in the properties panel. Now let's preview our banner. You'll notice if you try to rotate the model, the others are visible behind it. This is because we haven't pressed a button yet to hide them. I left this part out earlier because I wanted to offer a couple solutions depending on what your different swirl components are. If all your components share the same silhouette like the cans in my banner, you don't really need to hide them until you start rotating the front model. But if you're doing a product line, say a phone, a laptop, and a desktop, this won't do. Select the front swirl component and create a new event. Depending on which you need, either set the event to 3D scene rendered, which will be when the ad loads, or interaction started, which will be when you start rotating the object. Then set the action to set styles, and the receiver to be one of the objects you want to be immediately hidden. Then in the configuration box, type visibility hidden. Then repeat the process for as many objects as you want to hide. Preview your ad. And there you have it. An interactive ad where you can switch between different models. Understandably, the smaller you make your 3D files and the fewer models you want to switch between, the easier it will run. And that about wraps up this episode of FXPERIMENTS, and for now at least, this series on tutorials in Google Swirl. Please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. If you found this tutorial useful and you're feeling generous, join my Patreon, link down below.